Elizabeth Bathory was a 16th century Hungarian noblewoman who supposedly carried out the bloody murders of over 600 of her female servants.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at dangerous individuals with high body counts or unusually lethal skills, not murderous dictators with armies at their disposal.
Spartacus is one of these people who didn't set out to become the head of a large army that would raise a rebellion against Rome and Italy. He just wanted to escape from Capua.
Goyakla, aka Geronimo.
He spoke of peace until they killed his family and took his land. Now he chose to fight. He would become the U.S. Army's most wanted renegade.
Geronimo, a fearsome Apache leader, went down in history as one of the world's most relentless warriors. The death of his family at the hands of Mexican troops fueled a lifelong quest for revenge.
In his autobiography, Geronimo said, "I did not pray, I had no purpose left. And whenever I saw anything to remind me of my former happy days, my heart would ache for revenge."
For decades, he waged a brutal, quixotic guerrilla campaign against the Mexican and American militaries. He represented the last scream of defiance against colonialism of native lands. Geronimo was known for his unyielding courage and brilliant, albeit brutal, tactics. He and his band of fighters evaded capture time and again, striking out with lethal precision. His raids devastated enemy settlements, leaving a legacy of terror across the Southwest. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, he fought until 1886 when he was finally forced to surrender for the last time.
In reality, he was a man who had risked everything for his home and his way of life.
Donald McBane. When it comes to swordplay, Donald McBane literally wrote the book on it. A Scottish soldier, McBain was one of Scotland's most prolific duelists. He was a career soldier and fought in wars all over Europe. Outside the battlefield, he became a legendary duelist, engaging in nearly 100 sword fights, often to the death.
Over 100 duels.
Didn't receive a single cut himself.
He fought his final duel at the tender age of 63, absolutely devastating his opponent with skilled ease.
It was his last duel, but not because he lost it. It was his last duel because he chose to hang up his sword after that and commit his life to God, he said.
His defeat of other fencing masters motivated McBain to open his own schools, teaching fencing to pupils from around the continent. In 1728, 4 years before his death, McBain wrote one of the seminal treatises on fighting with a sword. Sukara Bokuden, the wandering swordsman. The samurai known as Sukara Bokuden lived a life of solitude. Called the wandering swordsman, he was renowned across Japan for his unmatched skill in combat and profound mastery of strategy. Trained from a young age, Sukara Bokuden won his very first duel to the death at the age of 17. He fought in 20 duels and in 37 battles over the course of his life. Wounded 6 times by arrows, Sukara died having never been wounded by another blade. He's thought to have killed over 200 men over the course of his life. He spent his career traveling the countryside learning from masters. Ultimately, he developed his own school of combat, Mutekatsu Ryu, the school of winning without hands. Herman Webster Mudgett, aka H.H. Holmes.
The page you're turning right now, it's a schematic of the murder castle.
The building that the press dubs the Murder Castle is the secret of Holmes's evil ingenuity.
Often considered America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes was a cold-blooded mastermind. He used his vast intellect and charm to hide his true nature, but deep down, he was a dangerous predator. Living in Chicago, Mudgett constructed a labyrinthine hotel designed to disorient and trap his victims. With hidden rooms, soundproofing, and deadly gas chambers, his lair was something out of a cheesy horror film.
Holmes is really unique in the history of serial killers because we've seen killers before who will create some sort of cage or cell to keep their victims in. But what Holmes has done is to create really a killing machine, a factory.
Holmes preyed on guests, business associates, and even lovers. Estimates of his victims range widely, as many of his murders were never fully uncovered. Some experts think he may have murdered over 200 Chicagoans. Like a spider in a web, Mudgett was a ruthless and patient killer, and one of the most terrifying humans to ever live.
Holmes was the first person in modern times who was able to take advantage of the complexities and anonymity of modern society in order to kill and kill again without being detected.
Vasily Zaitsev.
So far this morning, he's knocked off 5 officers, plus 2 machine gunners.
Before the release of 2001's Enemy at the Gates, most of the Western world was unfamiliar with the exploits of Vasily Zaitsev. After growing up in the Ural Mountains, Zaitsev eventually joined the Red Army. During the Second World War, he quickly earned the reputation as one of Earth's best snipers. His marksmanship during the Battle of Stalingrad turned him into a legend that the Politburo spread far and wide.
Tomorrow morning, Stalin himself will be sitting over breakfast, reading my words, memorizing your name. We're famous, Vasily.
Known for his patience, precision, and ability to outthink his enemies, Zaitsev was the bane of enemy snipers, officers, and soldiers. He had an astonishing tally of 225 confirmed kills. The Nazis were so terrified of him, they allegedly sent their own hero, Major Erwin Kernich, to face him in Stalingrad. Zaitsev won that duel.
The fascist had come to the duel well prepared. He'd already taken out 2 of my snipers, when with the help of a couple of others, I finally managed to pick him off.
Lyudmila Pavlychenkov, Lady Death.
Snipers had the ability to change the course of history with one shot, one kill.
Would you be surprised to learn that one of history's most lethal snipers was a woman? By age 25, Lyudmila Pavlychenkov was already divorced, a mother, an athlete, and college student. When war broke out, she joined the Red Army as a sniper. She became the terror of the Eastern Front, called Lady Death by the Germans.
The massive German advance into Russia afforded her ample targets, and she was a deadly shot.
During the sieges of Odessa and Sevastopol, her nerves of steel made her a nightmare for Nazi forces. She thrived in the harsh conditions of the battlefield, hiding for days to take out high-value targets. She took out 36 enemy snipers and ultimately ended the war with a confirmed kill count of 309. Her skills earned her worldwide fame, even befriending First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess.
A woman allegedly so terrifying that she inspired a whole generation of Gothic writers and filmmakers.
For thousands of years, history has been a tale of the elite and wealthy exploiting and killing lower classes. Few examples, though, are as egregious as the Hungarian noble Elizabeth Bathory, ultimately known as the Blood Countess. Bathory was allegedly one of the most prolific serial killers ever. Born into Hungarian nobility in the late 16th century, she used her wealth and status to conceal her gruesome crimes. Legends say she tortured and killed hundreds of young girls in her castle, with some claiming she had over 600 victims.
Elizabeth had things like clockwork-based great cages with springs that would shoot out blades. Other devices that would mechanically cause injury and death.
She mutilated, beat, and starved young women and girls. She allegedly believed that bathing in their blood would preserve her youth, like a caricature of an Eastern European vampire.
It's a sad indictment of the times that people only started to take notice of Bathory's crimes when young girls from the upper classes started to disappear. Who knows? She may have carried on killing merrily if she'd stuck to just peasants.
Simo Haura, the White Death. The Soviet Union launched the Winter War in 1939 when they invaded their neighbor Finland.
To face this onslaught, Finland had managed to mobilize about 180,000 men, organized into 8 infantry divisions and a number of independent battalions.
While it lasted a year, it didn't take that long for the Russians to realize their terrible mistake. The combination of the frozen weather and Finland's hit-and-run tactics caused massive casualties.
Finland had lost 25,000 dead and 43,500 wounded, out of a total population of fewer than 4 million. The Soviet losses were much greater, at least 250,000 dead, and about the same number wounded.
The poster boy for Finnish resistance was Simo Haura, perhaps the greatest sniper of all time. His exploits against the Soviets are the stuff of legend. Known as the White Death, it took Haura only 3 weeks to single-handedly kill over 120 men. 100 days into the war, his kill count had reached more than 500. Multiple Soviet attempts to take him out resulted in significant casualties.
Even though the Soviets eventually succeeded, the reputation of the Soviet army as a fighting force had been destroyed.
Spartacus.
Spartacus is one of these people who didn't set out to become the head of a large army that would raise a rebellion against Rome and Italy. He just wanted to escape from Capua.
In ancient Rome, Thracians were regarded for their incredible music and poetry, as well as their savage warriors. Little is known about the origins of their most famous warrior, Spartacus. What we do know is that after life as a soldier, he was enslaved and made into a gladiator. He and 70 other gladiators escaped their school near Capua.
Spartacus clearly seems to have one agenda and one agenda only, and that's to go home to Greece.
What began as a minor revolt snowballed into a full-fledged slave rebellion.
Now we had thousands of people who looked to him. He then showed them that they could be free.
Slaves flocked to his banner until he built an army of 70,000 out of pure will. He and his men waged a bloody war against their Roman captors. With cunning, savagery, and military brilliance, he defeated Rome's legions time and again. His army would wreak havoc across Italy until he died in battle.
The legacy of Spartacus is a powerful one, for it showed that one man can make a difference, one person can make a difference.
Before we continue, here are a few honorable mentions. Mad Jack Churchill. He fought World War II with a sword and bagpipes and a bow and arrow.
Known for his motto, any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed.
Joseph Bologna, Chevalier de Saint-Georges. A famed violinist, conductor, and soldier, he was also one of the best duelists in France.
A soldier, athlete, musical genius, and revolutionary, he was the creme de la creme of 18th century French society.
Julie d'Aubigny. This beloved opera diva was also a blade master and defeated 3 men in a single day. Zhang Yisao. A deadly pirate queen, she commanded thousands and was the scourge of the South China Sea.
Commanded 1,800 vessels, made enemies of several empires, and still lived to old age.
Chris Kyle. Known as the Devil of Ramadi, this SEAL sniper had over 150 confirmed kills.
He always says that he's not the best sniper out there. He was just given more opportunities.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Miyamoto Musashi, the Sword Saint. In an empire famous for its legendary swordsmen, no others can compare to the great Miyamoto Musashi. Born in 1584, Musashi became a master of the sword as a child. He won his first duel against a wandering samurai when he was only 13 years old. Over the course of his life, he would fight in more than 60 other duels. Thanks to Musashi's unorthodox tactics and unparalleled skill, he never once tasted defeat. He fought his most famous duel against master swordsman Sasaki Kojiro, whom he slew with a wooden practice blade. After fighting in the shogun's army, Musashi retired to a cave where he wrote one of Japan's most well-regarded texts on Kenjutsu. He died soon after. History is replete with tales of lethal assassins, sadistic killers, and deadly soldiers. Who do you think was the most dangerous individual in history? Let us know in the comments below.
He led the way for serial killers who came after him and began to increase in numbers 50, 60 years later.